family
This
connected.
is Governor Pat McCrory, so welcome
Oh,
him.
congrats. I was on the student government. Right?
They know that. And you guys, also, I know you made a sign for Mr. Hage, whom you've met before, but the CEO of Charter Schools USA, who they do a tremendous amount of work to help us out here at the school. So I know you guys have questions. I'm going to step aside and let you ask your questions.
You're on, Governor.
No, I can.
I'm sitting over here.
Refer the questions to you if I can answer.
Go ahead.
Kevin, are you starting?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, I'm McCrory, and the first question is, what characteristics do you think are most important to do to be an outstanding leader?
What characteristics are best for an outstanding leader? First is never stop learning. That means you got to listen, you got to continue to read, and you got to continue to have smart people around you too. So I think that's a very important part of an outstanding leader. The other part of an outstanding leader is anticipate as opposed to react. And if you react, whether in business or in government, you've probably waited too long. And that's usually when something goes wrong, you're reacting to something. And the third is you can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't communicate them properly, you will not succeed as a leader. So those are three ones that just stick out in mind. How's that? And communications is very difficult because you can never stop communicating. Because one moment you thought you communicated clearly and concisely, but then only half the message got out, or you didn't get it to the entire state, or it was misinterpreted, or all these different factors you have to judge, where the headline might be wrong and what you meant. The headline will say one thing, the story will say another. Communications can be very, very difficult. What's the next question?
Governor McCrory, Mr. McCrory, what lessons did you learn from your student council experience that you apply to your current job today as governor of North Carolina?
My student council experience.
Wow.
You're going back. But I remember it like it was yesterday. I really do. I'll tell you one thing. It took courage to run for student body president. I remember being hesitant to run and people trying to encourage me, but the minute I started, once you decide to run, you got to be committed to it. And I've taken that experience as governor also. Once you make a decision, you got to stay committed to it. And I learned that running for student body president at Ragsdale High School back in 1974. They actually, they had electricity back then. But, so making that decision to commit and participate, and I remember writing my first speech and speaking in front of the student body for the first time. I was extremely nervous, and I still get nervous before I speak in front of people, but that was a great experience for me because I showed I could do it, and therefore I've been doing it since when I became mayor and now governor. It was one of the highlights of my life, was being student body president. It was a great, great experience. And you know, you have to form coalitions to get things done. It was exciting.
So I have the last question. What are the biggest obstacles that you face when running for and serving in public office?
Biggest obstacles? Probably very similar to you. Time management is one of the biggest challenges I have. Is making sure my time is spent on productive things, not just on activity. And you get caught in the trap of just doing things, and at the end of the day, you did a lot of things that were very wearing, but then you have to look back, did I accomplish anything? Did you move the agenda forward? And so time management is extremely important, how I spend my time and effort, and also giving yourself time in that time management to think. Because now with all the new media, this phone right here is taking away the ability to have some serenity and think and focus, because you're constantly interrupted by emails and by phones and by access to the world, which is very advantageous, but also it doesn't allow you time for serenity to think. And I think that's we're having less thinking and more immediate reacting than we have in the future. So that's one of the great challenges. I think the other great challenge is dealing with it just like you deal in your everyday life. You deal with people's personalities, you deal with ego, you deal with turf. In business, you have that. In my business, you have that. And you got to cut through it. And that could be awful time consuming too. So I think those are some of my biggest challenges. And you know, what's interesting is I have to also be willing to allow other people to do the work. I have 8 major departments, but I really have 11 to 12 major departments. And one thing I've done is decentralize a lot of the decision making and not have it centralized within the governor's office. You see this debate within governor's offices in the White House. How much decisions are within the White House, and how many decisions do the cabinet members actually, independents do the cabinet members make? And one of the first decisions I made as governor was I'm going to have a very active and independent management team, and it won't be centralized, it will be decentralized. And one reason I did that was, first of all, to take advantage of the talent that I have in this decentralized team, but also to allow me to focus on the big picture and not be dragged down into the minutia of everyday operations. Because if you're the leader, if you get dragged down, you lose focus on the big picture. And that's very, very important. And the other, I'll mention one other thing. You have to be ready for a crisis at any time. I mean, even when I'm right here, I may be interrupted with a crisis. A couple weeks ago, we had a major train accident. Another week, we had a ferry crash or go aground. A lot of things don't get in the news, but sometimes we've had nursing homes closed in the middle of the night, all of a sudden shut down, and the people are abandoned. Sometimes we've had tragic shootings or accidents. A trooper on one of my first weeks and months in office, right before I gave the State of the State speech, I get a phone call right before I give the biggest speech in my life. They say a trooper was just shot, point blank. And so I all of a sudden have to turn my attention on that, while also needing to perform the functions of the other jobs. Is this true in your work too?
Yes, sir. Very much so.
Yeah.
Running schools all over the country, you feel that way all the time.
I talked to President Bush about this one time, is what were some of his tips in maintaining focus on the long-term items that a leader's responsible for, while also putting out the day-to-day fires. And what you have to do is make sure the day-to-day fires don't consume the long-term objectives that you're trying to make. Is that true in your life sometimes? Or at the end of the day, you didn't read the book that you were supposed to read next month because you were just active enough? Does that happen to y'all? You get caught up in the little things? Does that happen to you as a leader?
It does, yes, because at any moment my schedule changes. I plan it all out on Sundays,
Yeah.
the whole week looks beautiful, and then you come in and same thing, asthma attack, something's going on, you're outside, the student got stung, they're allergic to bees, and you gotta focus on the most important things in the moment and catch up on the other things later, absolutely.
And that's one important decision, though. Sometimes you have to allow other people to handle the crisis, and they might be better at handling the crisis. And you go, wait a minute, that will be my Secretary of Public Safety. Go do it, and then come to me when you need my level at the point in time. So that's part of the time management. And sometimes you have to decentralize that management. Is that true?
These guys have worked a lot on setting goals and staying focused. And you know, at the beginning of the year when they formed their student council under Ms. Nocera's leadership, we couldn't have done it without her. So we definitely want to give her some props for
Shout
that.
out for our teachers.
That's a great question. What other question you got?
I think they only had those 3, but I know Jasmine would like to share something with you. So what I was mentioning is at the beginning of the year, we told them you have to stay focused because we're a new school, a whole lot's going on. And we knew they wanted to do some philanthropy, so we told them, sit down and have a conversation. And they decided that they really have a big heart for animals, in particular for rescues and the SPCA.
Now you're talking
And
about
when they
things.
found out you have a rescue, you have Mo,
He's half boxer and half lab.
they wanted, so which one of these is for
And he
Mo?
goes backwards. He walks backwards like a boxer.
So take this up there and you want to show him.
My
So
wife.
Mo has some treats.
I'm
for
gonna
the
go see
weekend.
Mo later on tonight.
Well, and Mo's gonna love you. The kids want Mo to have that.
And then on behalf of Student Council, we would like to give you a gift from Cardinal Charter.
see if you can remember us, and here's a little card for you.
On behalf of the state of North Carolina, I accept these gifts. This, can I open it up?
Yeah, please do.
Hold on a second. This is so cool. My wife's gonna be thrilled to get this. Mo's gonna sleep in the bed with us tonight. And he pushes me all the way off to the side. So in the morning, I just like have that much bed, and he doesn't care.
I got you a Cardinal for Mo.
I'm gonna give this to my
Cardinal
wife
for
and say,
Mo.
I got it
That's
for her. That is great. Uh-oh. Grain-free biscuits. He's getting one of these tonight. Thank y'all very much. Look at this. What is this? A chewing bun?
It's an elk antler. He's gonna love that. Mr. Paul and I both have rescues. It's their favorite thing to cut their teeth on. They love those.
That's
Yeah.
great.
It lasts forever.
They do last quite a long time.
You're gonna have to record these. You're gonna have to record these, but Mo is getting. I'm saying that in front of the media. And what's this now?
Just some little chewies, little training treats.
For Mo.
Yeah, it's all for Mo. Yeah, please do not eat them.
I should. Have y'all tried one of these? This is cool. All right, what's in the other?
So those are for you.
All right. I'm gonna wear this to the beach this weekend. Here we go.
Oh, that's really nice.
Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all very much. I really appreciate it. I'll wear it proudly, okay? Y'all keep doing well. Thank you for y'all escorting me today. I really appreciate it. All right. All right, y'all keep doing good now. Be good to your teachers too.
Thank you so much.